Shalom, shalom, everybody. Welcome back. Shalom. Welcome back to Reading with Shilo, man. Should have got here earlier, but I had to take care of my little boy, man. He wasn't feeling good this morning. So we're going to get a late one in today. Let's get it in. Reading with Shilo, BARAK and Deborah United by Mary L. Windsor and Dr. Rudolph R. Windsor. Mary L. Windsor and Dr. Rudolph R. Windsor. Then we are on chapter 9. We're on chapter 9. There's a lot going on so far, man. A lot going on. We're definitely almost halfway done with the book. Definitely almost halfway done with the book. Deborah just found out some bad news to her. She's going to marry her brother-in-law, Caleb, because she did not give her widow husband any heirs. So as the law states, if he doesn't have any heirs, then a family member will come in and marry and give him an heir to be raised in his name. So Deborah had to make that decision. She said yes, and I don't believe BARAK knows yet, but we're going to find out. I think BARAK going to find out soon. And we're going to see if all that, what happened when all that lovey-dovey, all that lovey-dovey stuff goes on. But, hey, hope everybody's been doing great and wonderful. And we're going to see how it goes, man. So let's get going. BARAK and Deborah United, love, freedom, and spirituality. I think we've got enough time for people to come in. Chapter 9 and chapter 10. Let's get it in. Chapter 9. Deborah was walking along the path lined with palm trees when BARAK arrived on one of the days of his leave of absence. Ambling along, she wondered why he wanted to see her at this time. Before he arrived, she had given instructions to Cicero, her handmaid, and to another female worker to follow behind her 20 cubits so that no one could question her integrity and conduct. After all, she was obligated by the customs of her people to marry Caleb, even though she did not love him. As she waited for BARAK to arrive, she thought about the fact that she had to reveal to him her engagement to Caleb. This weighed heavily on her heart. She wondered how she would tell him. She wondered how she would tell the man who she liked that she was engaged to marry someone else. She knew that it would not be easy, and it would drain her energy like a parasite that drains the vital fluids from its victims. After all, she is human. It was the middle of the winter. The leaves had fallen from the trees. The day was cloudy and a little chilly. She prayed and spoke softly. "O Lord, I beseech thee, give me the strength, the courage, and the wisdom to deal with this pain." She could feel the despair in the air all around her. As Deborah raised her head, she could see Nachshon, her gatekeeper, escorting BARAK to her. When BARAK approached 3 cubits from her, he held out his hand to hold hers, but she decided not to reciprocate. She reasoned that it would not look right, and it would send the wrong message. But in her heart, she wanted to accept her sign of affection. "Is all well, Deborah?" he inquired, with an expression of worry on his face. "I'm fine. We've had a very good harvest this year, and the business is thriving," she said, as her blue cotton mantilla fell from her head and shoulders. BARAK then bent down to pick it up, and his muscular thigh accidentally touched her well-defined hip. He placed the mantilla over her shoulder and smiled with pleasure. She enjoyed the attention, but she did not encourage him. "You've talked about your business, but haven't said much about yourself. I've missed you, and I'm glad to see you, he remarked, waiting for a response. There was a silence. I've had, you've had what? Barak prodded. Let's not talk about me right now. Oh, Barak, I'm so glad you are healing well from the wound you received on your arm, she noticed with heartfelt sympathy. Deborah did not want to reveal any news about her marriage to Caleb at this time. She wanted to move slowly. Have you had any success in catching lawbreakers? She asked, turning her head and looking into his eyes. He chuckled, and Deborah knew that he had good news. Come with it. Tell me all about it, she urged. Well, we caught 10 men, cattle and sheep thieves, Barak told Deborah all about the capture. Excuse me. Well, we caught 10 men, cattle and sheep thieves. Barak told Deborah all about the capture of the sheep thieves. This included the details of the man killed by the wild beast, the details of the Canaanite who escaped, and all the details about Reuben, the leader of the thieves. You are wonderful, just wonderful, the way you organized and executed that search and capture at Mount Gilboa. As she praised him, she looked at him with admiration, respect, and gave him a big smile. Now she knew that she could rely on him to accomplish anything he set his mind to do. At this time, she wanted to hug and kiss him, but she restrained herself for obvious reasons. A moment later, she offered, I get the feeling that the escaped Canaanite is a spy for Cicero. He just might be, by the way. He just might be. By the way, Deborah, how and when did you first hear about Cicero? Oh, it was many years ago when I was a young woman of 19 years old. That's when I saw him for the first time. You saw him? Barak turned around in surprise. Where? He asked anxiously. Deborah began to tell Barak of the time that she had been living with her uncle Yoetz in the city of Jezreel. She had been spending a lot of time with her uncle after her parents had died. On a certain day, while Deborah was sitting in front of her uncle's house doing needlework, her friend Malka and her boyfriend Dan stopped by to visit. I don't believe that one. I don't believe that one. I don't believe that she had a boyfriend. They were 17 years of age and holding hands. All three of them talked for a little while. Shortly afterwards, Cicero was approaching the town with his army. As soon as Deborah learned that the Canaanite army was coming, she ran and told her uncle, who was reading the scroll inside his stone house. Uncle Yoetz, I believe the Canaanite army is approaching. Quickly, my dear, go, gather up the children and the young ladies and hide them in the stable. Yes, yes, she replied eagerly. And don't forget to hide under the straw, he shouted, as she hurried out the door holding her cute white puppy in her arms. The puppy was a shih tzu. The puppy was a shih tzu, born in the Far East and brought to Palestine by caravan merchants. After Deborah and her friend Malka finished hiding the children under the straw, they peeped through a crack in the barn because they wanted to see what the soldiers would do. Deborah watched the soldiers ride up and stopped about 20 cubits away from the stable. The man who was riding ahead of the soldiers appeared to be the leader. Deborah could see that he was dressed in a fancy uniform of red and gold with a black leather girdle around his waist. He took off his gold-colored helmet, which was a symbol of his rank, and held it in his left hand. There was no one outside to be seen. Lieutenant Tabar, order the people to come out, Cicero commanded as he wiped the sweat from his bald head. In the name of Jabin, king of Canaan, and General Cicero, I command all of you to come out at once. There was complete silence and no one moved. Again, the lieutenant spoke. We know you're in there. If you are not out by the count of 10, we shall break down your doors and drag you out. He began to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, And at the count of 7, an old man appeared at the door of one of the clusters of houses. He stepped out 3 feet and stopped. Next, the other opened their door slowly and came out. Cicero put back on his gold-colored helmet and nudged his horse forward a few feet. I am Cicero, the commander of the king's army. Who is the head elder in this place? As Deborah peeped through the crack in the stable, she watched her uncle turn to one side and answered. I am, he said softly. Speak up, old man. What is your name? Yoetz. What is your last name? Cicero snapped. Yoetz ben Joshua, he answered, stroking his long white woolly beard. Yoetz ben Joshua. Joshua, Cicero sneered with scorn. Do you have your back taxes for last year? Oh, Elder Yoetz cleared his throat, hesitated, and then spoke. No, General Cicero. And why not? We've had a famine for the last 2 years, and we are a very poor village. Excuses, excuses. That's all I hear. Now, the king has ordered that if you do not pay your taxes, we will take 2 of your men to work in the stone quarries. We will also take 2 of your boys to be sacrifices in the fire of our god Baal. Now, what will it be? Oh, my lord Cicero, I beg of thee, ask us not to make a choice because we have no choice in this matter, remarked the elder, walking up close to Cicero. If you're coming in here, come on. I beg you, give us another year, my lord, he asked pitifully. I want another year. You want another year? Fix your face. You want another year? What's up? I can't hear you. You have to speak up, son. You gonna sit in here and read with daddy? Huh? I can't hear you. Yes, what? Yes, sir. Let's read about General Cicero. You want another year? You have had an extra year already. Get out of my way, old man, ordered Cicero as he pushed the elder to one side. As soon as Deborah saw this incident, she started to go out to help her uncle, but Malka grabbed her arm. You can't go out there, Deborah. If you do, you will be taken away and you will endanger all of us in here. You're right, Malcolm. Looking through the crack, Deborah saw and heard Cicero again. Lieutenant, take a squad of men and search the houses. There must be some children and young ladies around somewhere. After a thorough search of the adjacent houses, come on in here. Reading. After a thorough search of all the adjacent houses, the lieutenant returned to Cicero. General Cicero, we found only a crippled old man lying on the floor. Then Deborah heard the lieutenant address Cicero. Do you want me to search that stable over there? Not yet, after I'm done, all right? As Deborah peeped through the crack, he said, my bad. Then Deborah heard the lieutenant address Cicero. Do you want me to search that stable over there? That's a good idea. Go right ahead. As Deborah peeped through the crack, Malchus said, the soldiers are coming. Let's go and hide. They hid behind a large pile of straw on the opposite side of the stable. As they were kneeling down on the ground, they heard the door open. Deborah held her puppy close to her, rubbing his head gently. That's Deborah. I think that's Deborah. Mm-hmm. Deborah held her puppy close to her, rubbing his head gently. When the 3 soldiers passed through the door, they stopped and looked around cautiously. Everything was quiet and still. Everything was quiet and still. The lieutenant walked slowly over to the animal stall and looked in it. No one was there. Afterwards, he walked back to the other side and he stepped on the dry twig and broke it. The puppy that Deborah held in her arms made a growling sound. The lieutenant looked at his men and asked, "What was that?" He put his hands on his sword and began to walk around the pile of straw. Then the lieutenant saw a pitchfork leaning against the wall. Without hesitation, he ordered one of his soldiers to take that pitchfork and poke it into the straw. "If anyone is in there, he will jump out for sure." The soldier began to poke in the straw. Deborah could see everything that was happening. Her lips moved in silence, and she let the puppy loose. It ran over to the lieutenant and began sniffing around his feet and legs with its black nose. The attention of all the soldiers was now focused on the puppy. "Oh, it's just a puppy. Hey, you're a cute, friendly little thing, and you have a nice royal look." Suddenly, the lieutenant heard a shout. It was the voice of Cicero. "Do you see anyone, Lieutenant?" The lieutenant rubbed the puppy on his head and remarked, "No, General, not a soul, just a cute little puppy," and he walked out of the barn holding the puppy. "Put that creature down. We have more important matters." Finally, Cicero turned to Elder Yoetz. "Where are the young ladies? Did you send them off?" "No, we married them off. He deceived him so that he would not place them in a risky situation." "Well, since you don't have the taxes, 2 of your young men will be taken and placed in hard labor," said Cicero angrily. "Seize them! Seize them!" Cicero ordered his soldiers. In the meantime, Deborah and Malcolm returned to the front of the barn, peeping through the crack, and they could see and hear everything that was said. Because the Canaanite soldiers seized the young men, Malcolm cried, "They're taking my boyfriend. What am I going to do?" When Malcolm hastened to walk toward the door, Deborah grabbed her arm. "There is nothing you can do, Malcolm. It is all in the hands of the Lord. But I'll never see him again." She wept, looking at the door. "You can't go out there. If you do, they will take you and abuse you. And finally, they will burn you in the fire of this and as a sacrifice to their god Baal. Do you want this to happen?" "No," she replied, crying on Deborah's shoulder. Then Deborah heard Cicero once more. "Stop kicking my table." Then Deborah heard Cicero once more. "Now this is the king's order. Next year, your taxes will be twice as much. And if you cannot pay, your property will be confiscated." "Oh, Lord Cicero," pleaded the elder, "we cannot pay this year's taxes. How are we going to pay double taxes next year?" "That's your problem," shouted Cicero as he grabbed the reins of the horse. Man, stop. "You are milking us dry," cried the elder, looking helpless. "You are like a man who milks the goat of all its milk and then butchers the goat for its meat." "I had enough of your whining." "I've had enough of your whining. I've had enough of you kicking my stuff." If you were as good as paying your taxes as you are with your flowery words, you wouldn't be in this situation." Cicero turned his horse around and said to the elder, "Get out of my face, old man," and then kicked the elder in the chest. "Oh, hey." The elder fell backward to the ground and the soldiers galloped away. After the soldiers had gone, Deborah asked Malcolm to bring out the children and young ladies. Following that, Deborah ran out to see how her uncle was doing. "Are you all right, uncle?" "Yes, I'm fine. I just feel like I was hit in the chest with a thunderbolt." "How are the children?" "They are fine, uncle." In the meantime, Malcolm came out with the children. "The incident in the barn was a close call." "That was a smart thing you did in the stable by letting the puppy loose," Malcolm remarked. It prevented the lieutenant from finding us. If you had not let the puppy loose, the lieutenant would have walked over in our direction and found us. What made you do it? I was praying silently to God for God to help us, when suddenly I heard a soft voice in my mind say, "Let the puppy loose, Deborah." On Malcolm, oh Malcolm, I am so sorry that they took away your boyfriend Dan. And she embraced him. At that moment, Malcolm sobbed, "Thank you, Deborah." She walked away while Deborah remained there listening to her uncle. Because you listened to your inner voice, which spoke to you in the stable, explained her uncle, you saved yourself and everyone else. Move, man. Go sit over there. Go sit over there. Go sit over there. That's fine. Because you listened to your inner voice, which spoke to you in the stable, explained her uncle, you saved yourself and everyone else. How did you feel when you heard the voice? He asked as both of them strolled over to a stone bench and sat down. At first I hesitated, but I didn't want to part with my dear puppy. She said as the puppy played at her feet. Suddenly he jumped in her lap. Then she picked him up and continued. The voice was direct. It was as though God was inside me, she explained, caressing the white hair on the back of her puppy. Her uncle turned to her. You know, as time passed, I believe that you will become even more spiritual and possess the keener sense. You will become something like a prophetess or a seeress. A seeress. A seeress. I've never heard that before, but it's a woman seer, I assume. A seeress. No, sir, not right now. How do you know this, uncle? He turned towards her. The passing years teach me, dear child, and I've watched you grow up. And you have a sharp mind and an unexplained good inner sense of to know things. Now I think that it's time for me to teach you the steps of how to fast, to relax, to meditate, and to purify your body and mind. We'll start tomorrow. Deborah turned around and looked down. And looked down past several houses from where she was sitting. Seeing several women crying, she concluded that they were crying because Cicero took their sons captive. She got up and went over to them to express her sympathy for their loss. After the terrible event of this day, Deborah never forgot the cruelties of General Cicero. Moreover, she knew that this would not be the last time that the Canaanite soldiers would affect her life. Now, here was Deborah almost 19 years later sitting in her courtyard. She just finished telling Barak when she first had seen Cicero and had learned of his cruel ways. Barak looked directly at her. From your account of your story, I've learned a lot about you and Cicero. Deborah, I admire you for the way you handled yourself. Chapter 10. Chapter 10. Chapter 10. It was in the late afternoon that Deborah escorted Barak to the factory, which she had inherited from her late husband. The building was large. Her workers had linen garments, fishnets, twine, shrouds, sails, and wicks. All these products were made from the flax plant that grew in the land of Israel. Deborah, a while ago I mentioned to you that you have not said much about yourself. I mean, how do you feel about me? How do you feel about me? Get your butt up. I told you to get from underneath there. Move. Go around. Go around. Go around. Move around. You can either sit up there or go back in the front. One of the two. Isn't it a little bit early for that? She reminded him gently. Did not Jacob fall in love with Rachel first sight? And did he not kiss her? He asked as he bent down to pick up the dried flax plant. Well, that was a different situation. Rachel was single, living in her father's house. I've been married before, and now I have a responsibility of my business and my communal duties to perform. Are you saying this because you are too busy and don't have time for me? She stopped walking, turned around, and remarked, yes and no. Let's think about it, Barak. You have your own estate. You are a prince of your tribe. Moreover, you are the general of the northern militia. This makes you a very busy man. As they passed by the worker peeling stalks from the fibers of the flax plants, she asked, do you have time for each other? Do we have time for each other? Well, you do make a good argument, but it will not always be this way. No, it probably won't, but there are other things. Other things, he inquired, looking at her confused. Yes, other things. For example, permanency and spirituality in the relationship. Please explain, Deborah, he asked gently and sincerely. You see, Barak, if two people are going to have the harmony in a relationship, they must be as one spiritually. You are a good man, but you believe in the might of your army, and I believe in spiritual things. This is the difference between us. It is not by might nor by power, but by the Spirit of the Lord. Barak, if you can learn this, you will be more successful in your everyday struggles. Barak listened carefully and took in every word without interruption. I understand what you mean, Deborah. You are truly a spiritual woman. Barak, there is another thing that keeps me from thinking about you in a serious way. It is your dedicated fight with the Canaanites. My late husband died by the hands of the Canaanites. And if I open up my heart to you, I would have to live in constant fear, thinking that the same thing might happen to you. Can you understand the situation that I'm in, Barak? Deborah couldn't resist to asking, with trembling in her voice. Barak answered reluctantly, yes, I do. I'm only trying to help you understand that the greatest might and enlightenment comes from heaven. If you can't understand and accept this now, I am sure that you will in the near future. Both of them walked by several stone buildings and noticed flax lying on the roofs to dry in the open air and sun which had been previously soaked in water. They saw and passed by another group of workers separating the fibers from the stalks. The last process was the hackling. Finally, the hackling. The last process was the hackling. Let's see what that means, the hackling. Hackling, the hackling. Hackling, Hack. The next step was the hackling. Hackling, to comb out with a hackle. Hackle. Hackle or hackling, to comb out with a hackle. Hackle. One of the long, narrow feathers on the neck or saddle of a bird, the neck plumage of a domestic fowl. Erectile hairs along the neck and back, especially of a dog. An artificial fishing fly made chiefly of the filaments of a cock's neck feather. Filaments of cock feather projecting from the head of an artificial fly. hackling, hackle, number 2, or hackled, hackling, or hackler. To comb out with a hackle. No picture. The last process was the hackling. Finally, they came to her supervisor, Madreach, who was giving instructions to a worker on how to weave the fiber into wicks to be used for lamps and torches. The name of Deborah's late husband was Lapidoth, which means torches. He first started his business by making wicks and torches. In the passing of time, they became known as the man and woman of torches. As they were walking back to the house, a group of 6-year-old boys and girls were frolicking on the grass in a playful manner. They were the children of the servants who worked on Deborah's estate. Also, 2 of the boys played catch with the pomegranate. When Deborah and Barak passed by the boys, one of them threw the pomegranate over Barak's head, and Barak reached up and caught it with one hand. The boy responded, "That was a good catch. Thank you, young fellow. Also, I used to play this game when I was young. By the way, what is your name? What is your name?" Ooh. The boy who threw the pomegranate responded, "Ben." Ben was a light brown-skinned boy, small frame with curly brown hair. "My name is Prince Barak. It is nice to meet you." "Ben lives with his mother," said Deborah. "His father died from a bad accident when he was 2 years old." "I am sorry to hear this," commented Barak. "How old are you now, Ben?" "6. When I grow up, I want to be tall and strong like you." "I can't hear you. You need to speak up louder." "You gotta go pee? All right. Give me a second. We'll come back and see what Ben's talking about. Come on. All right. Let's read about keep up with Ben. Let's see what Ben got going on. My neck been hurting, boy. Ben. Hmm. 6. "I'm sorry to hear this," commented Barak. "How old are you now, Ben?" 6. When I grow up, I want to be tall and strong like you." "Well, you will have to eat good food and work hard to build up flesh on your bones. Also, you need to increase your knowledge to help you in other areas of your life. I would like to know something about camels. Can you teach me?" pleaded Ben. "Can you?" Barak looked at him with sympathy and said, "All right, I'll tell you a few things, then I will have to leave. First of all, there are 2 kinds of camels, the 2-hump camels and the 1-hump camels. The 2-hump camels are found mostly in colder countries north of here. This is why you don't see them around here. But the 1-hump camels, you see them around here in countries to the south." Ben looked down and then looked up eagerly. "Where do you sit on the 2-hump camel?" "You sit between the humps. Now I have to go, Ben. Perhaps I'll see you again at another time." "Thanks, Prince Barak. Then Ben ran off joyfully to the other boys and girls, repeating, "Ha ha ha, I know something that you don't know. I know something that you don't know." Shalom, shalom, there in the front. I know something that you don't know. After hearing the entire conversation between Ben and Barak, Deborah added, "That boy likes you. You made him feel so good." You must understand, Barak, that boys need a good man to guide him through life, and you are the man. At that moment, Barak gazed at her attentively and nodded his head in agreement. Passing yet further, they had another 100 cubits to go. Then Barak decided that he would ask Deborah about the two women who were walking about 25 cubits behind them. "Deborah, I'm curious. Those ladies behind us have been following us for some time. Something is wrong. You sent me a letter a short time ago, and you didn't mention anything about the fact that you find me pleasing in your eyesight or that you missed me. Something is wrong. When I first arrived to meet you today, I held out my hand to hold yours, and you refused me. You refused my offer of affection. Something is wrong. Now tell me, I beg thee, what's troubling you?" "All right, Barak, I'll tell you. I was going to tell you anyway before you departed. This is as good a time as any," she revealed, being somewhat relieved. "Thank you," Barak remarked, looking a little pacified. "This is not going to be easy, Barak, and it has left me with a lot of emotional pain. You must understand that I'm not really single." "I'm not really single." His eyes expressed shock and disbelief. "What in the heck are you talking about?" he asked, with surprise and confusion. "Deborah, relieve me of this pain and tell me that this is a joke." "A joke? Barak, I'm serious. This is no joke. You've heard of Levirate marriage, haven't you?" "Yes." "Oh no," exclaimed Barak, realizing the point she was making. He shook his head from side to side. "Are you saying that you are committed to marry your deceased husband's brother?" he asked, expressing complete shock. He moved closer to her and threw his hands down and stared at her. "I am saying that. What is his name, and why did he wait so long to decide to fulfill his obligation?" "His name is Caleb, and I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure why he waited so long. I wrote him 3 times and asked him to marry me and or subject himself to Halitza. Halitza. Subject himself to Halitza." Let's see what her Halitza is. Halitza. And Halitza. 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 That's both words are H's. Halitza. Hal. Itza. Halitza. Halit. It's not in here. Halit. Halitz. It's not in here. Let's get the Bible dictionary, see if it's in there. Halitza. Both dictionaries. Halitza. 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 It's not in this dictionary either. Let's look in the Bible dictionary. Halitza. This is the Zondervan's Compact Bible Dictionary. Let's see if it's in here. Halitza. Halitza. Nope, it's not in here either. No, man, it's not in here either. All right, we'll keep going. An arranged halitza, an arranged marriage of a deceased husband. It might be it. It might be it. A halitza. I wrote him 3 times and asked him to marry me or subject himself to halitza. The only reply he sent me was that he was busy and he would contact me soon, but he didn't until a month ago. Deborah, what's an halitza? There we go. Halitza is a ceremony. Halitza is a ceremony in which the husband's brother must perform when he refuses to marry his deceased brother's wife. There you go. You are correct. You were correct, spiritual conversationalist. You were correct. You were correct. A halitza. A halitza is a ceremony in which the husband's brother must perform when he refuses to marry his deceased brother's wife. The elders and judges can send for him and speak unto him concerning his obligation. If he still refuses, the deceased husband's wife can come unto him in the presence of the elders. Then she loses his shoe and removes it from his foot and spits before him and say, so shall it be to the man who refuses to build up his brother's house. I guess that's the same thing that they did in Ruth, with Ruth and Boaz. Same scenario with Ruth and Boaz, or Boaz's cousin. And his name shall be called in Israel, the house of him that has his shoe loose. Do you love this man? Not in an emotional sense, but it is not a question of love, Barak. It is a question of loyalty to the law and the love of family. Well, since you don't love him, why don't you ask him to refuse and let him subject himself to halitza, he added. That would be contrary to everything I believe, contrary to what I teach, and contrary to my position as a judge. It would be like asking me to disregard the law of God, which I am duty bound to obey. I cannot do that. And if I did, I would become a mockery to my people. Barak took a deep breath and shook his head in dismay and anger. Why in the heck did Caleb wait so long to give you a definite answer? Why now, he sneered as he walked between the palm trees. Why now, Deborah, he repeated as he gestured with his hands. This is what I asked also. There was something that slipped out of my conversation with Caleb. Deborah remembered. And what was that, Barak asked as he turned around to face her. When Caleb admitted to me that he neglected earlier to give me his definite decision, he also said, but I am here now, ready to fulfill the law. You see, our marriage can also increase and combine our assets, and I can get out. He paused. I said to Caleb, out of debt, you mean, don't you? I understand. So you came here to make a proposal of marriage to help you get out of debt. What was his response to that? He said to me, the facts remain that you do have a legal obligation to marry me in spite of what you say my motive is. I want you to understand, Barak, that I agreed to marry him not because I love him, not because I respect him, not even because I trust him, but only because it is my duty according to our customs and laws. Has a date been set for this so-called wedding? Deborah shook her head up and down in confirmation and said, you don't have to be sarcastic. The marriage will take place 5 months from now. They approached close to the walkway that led to the back gate of the house. The stone walkway was lined with pretty green plants on both sides. The plants looked like green cactus. Barak stopped in the walkway. He looked defeated. He lowered his head. He scratched his eyebrow. He commented sorrowfully, there must be something we can do. Something, he growled as he clenched up his fist and hit the palm with his left hand. Oh, we can hand this matter over to the judges in Shiloh, he added. Barak, I want to thank you for giving your attention to my problem and wanting to help me. But there is nothing else that we can do at this time. Even if I handed this matter over to the judges and they ruled in my favor by nullifying the marriage with Caleb, the turmoil from this action would cause a major uproar among my enemies. Because one more hair on my head turns gray, before any more hair on my head turns gray, please explain to me how this action would cause a major uproar, Deborah. If the court ruled in my favor, sooner or later, the bad news would leak out that I bribed the court in order to free myself from marrying my deceased husband's brother, who I don't love. Barak gasped. If this happens, my critics and enemies would say, when God's law is beneficial to her, she upholds it. And when it's not, she skirts around it so that she won't have to perform it. If this occurs, the court and I will lose the trust of the people, and there will be a further breakdown of justice. I can't let this happen, Barak. The importance and righteousness of our laws are greater than I am. I must do the Lord's will first. I must do the Lord's will first. Shalom, Jack. What's up? I must do the Lord's will first. Yeah, how many people think like that? There we go. I must do the Lord's will first. Oh, man. And then I believe he will work out his purpose, even though we may not understand his purpose at first. Let's be patient, Barak. Be patient, my brother, and place your hope in the Lord. Can you understand what I'm saying? She asked gently with compassion. Yes, I can understand, but it is hard for me to accept defeat and to accept the fact that you are engaged to a scoundrel you don't love. Barak, if this is hard for you, it is harder for me because I have to think about living with this man. At least you don't have to live with him. Barak, I think you should just forget about me. Go find yourself another woman who is not anchored by Levirate marriage. He turned around and faced her. I don't want another woman. I want you. He pleaded, gesturing with both hands. Well, I'm spoken for, so just go and leave me be. She said and turned her back to him with her arms folded. He approached close behind her and held her by her upper arm. She squirmed and shook herself loose from him. He pleaded, please, Deborah, ask me to do something foolish. Ask me to do some foolish thing like to jump off a pyramid in Egypt. But ask me not to stop from wanting you or to stop from pursuing after thee because my heart cleaves to you. You may want to give me your heart, but I cannot give you mine. I feel like you're treating me like a leper. Please, Deborah, don't do this to me. When am I away from you? When I am away from you, I think of you morning, noon, and night. There are plenty of beautiful women in Galilee. Discover them, Barak, and they will help you to forget about me. Barak moved quickly in front of her and continued to press her. I told you I only want you. Can't you understand this? Even if you had a twin sister, I would still want only you. She looked up at him with her arms still folded in front of her. I understand, Barak, but you are the one that don't understand. You forget that by our laws and customs, I am obligated to Caleb. This I cannot change. Barak stood there speechless and frozen as if he had been struck by a snowstorm. Then Deborah approached him softly and touched him gently on his muscular arm. You seem deeply hurt by this, Barak, she observed. Yes, he snapped with his eyes fluttering. I haven't felt like this since the death and the loss of my dear mother. There was a silence, then she struggled to speak. I'm sorry, Barak, but there's nothing I can do. I'm so sorry. Barak turned around with a little consolation on his face. He reached his hand into his inner garment and pulled out a leather pouch. I brought something for you. He untied the thin leather cord and took out the necklace made of pure gold and diamonds. Deborah opened her mouth and eyes wide with disbelief and surprise. Oh, Barak, it's so beautiful, she said, as she looked down at the necklace. He pushed the necklace towards her. Take it. It's yours. Take it, he urged her. She took hold of it. It is so thoughtful of you, Barak, she said, smiling. Then her countenance changed quickly and her facial expression became serious. Oh, Barak, I can't accept this. She shoved the necklace back into his hand, turned around, and broke down in tears, dropping her face into the palms of her hands. Barak took several steps towards her. Stung with hurt and disappointed, he continued. Why? He asked, why can't you accept it? I had this made with deep love, but I can't give you my love. Give it to someone else who can return your love. How can you expect me to give this necklace to someone else when I had it made especially for you and only for you? Deborah seemed confused and she felt fluttery inside. Then she squirmed and labored to speak. Well, she said hesitantly and slowly, I'll accept it under one condition, that you expect nothing from me, understood? Barak nodded his head in acquiescence. Yes, I want you to understand that I promise you nothing, no intimacy, no marriage, and no special favors. Barak relaxed a little and explained, I went through great sacrifice and effort to get this made for you, and I want you to have something of mine. I understand, she said. Well, the day is getting late, he said, showing exhaustion in his voice. I must leave now. She became silent again. And after a few moments, she spoke concerning their earlier conversation. Oh, Barak, previously you mentioned that one of the thieves you were searching for was a Canaanite who escaped. I just want to warn you that when Jabin and Cicero hear that you took your soldiers into the Jezreel, expect some reprisals. I think you're right, Deborah. I had thought about that also. Your warning confirms my thoughts, and I shall reinforce my security. I want to encourage you, Barak, to continue to do for humanity, and this will multiply unto you the best in life. The good that you do will be written and remembered in the heavenly book of life. And when you are in dire straits, your Creator will come to your assistance, she explained compassionately. Thank you, Deborah. Your words are very encouraging. Deborah stood there and watched him walk away slowly. She knew she could not tell him that she loved him. Oh, you love him now. Oh, you love him now. I guess after he gave her that necklace. Before you ain't know, but now you love him. Thank you, Deborah. Your words are very encouraging. Deborah stood there and watched him walk away slowly. She knew she could not tell him that she loved him. She knew that she could not let him kiss her or embrace her because she was duty bound to the Levirate law. She could not even let herself be obsessed with him because that would certainly be a violation of her spirituality. Deborah turned slowly and faced Barak. As she opened her mouth to speak, her words weighted heavily on her lips. And when she spoke, her lips quivered and tears ran down her cheeks. She said, "Be careful, Barak. I'll pray for you and for the safety of your soldiers, and keep me informed about the military situation. Go in peace and may God be with you." Barak departed with a disappointed look on his face. He lowered his head, then raised it and said slowly, "Peace be to you, Deborah. Peace be to you." That was chapter 9 and chapter 10, baby. Chapter 9 and chapter 10. Barak hurt. Oh, Deborah. Barak hurt. I'm not really single. I'm not really single. Well, here we go. That was chapter 9 and chapter 10 of Barak and Deborah United by Mary L. Windsor and Dr. Rudolph R. Windsor. Yeah, they both hurt. Deborah then fell in love after she done got her gold necklace. That boy came bearing gifts. And he wasn't taking no for an answer. "You gonna take this shit." "You gonna take this shit?" I had this shit made. Man, but so far so good. But not many, the things that Deborah has to go through in the Levite marriage is not something that many people would do today or encourage people to do today. That's a weighty matter. But like the scripture says, marriage is a weighty matter. Marriage is a weighty matter. But Deborah, still felt it her duty to live by the laws and the customs of her people, so that way her name wouldn't be tarnished. The trust of the elders and the judges wouldn't be tarnished. She understood that she didn't know what the Lord had planned for her, but she said she will trust in the Lord. Trust in the Lord. And many people say that, but they still do what's right in their own eyes. And she didn't want to be like everybody else and do what was right in her own eyes, as many people were doing in those days. She said, "I must do the Lord's will first. I must do the Lord's will first." Not a lot of people today will take that route. Not a lot of people today will take that route. They'll be in church every Sunday, every week, whatever, whether they be Christian, Muslim, Israelite, whatever. They will not do their God's will first. Or it's definitely more of a struggle. Definitely more of a struggle. Like the duty of marriage. The duty of marriage, which definitely is a talking point for today's time. Marriage, and the duties of marriage. Shit. I know a lot of women ain't about to marry their brother if their husband died, or brother-in-law, if their husband died and they didn't give him an heir, and they had to turn around and marry their brother-in-law until they gave him a boy so they could bring up in the dead husband's name. That stuff is not happening today. Or at least people would holler about how old, that's old time stuff. That's in the Old Testament. But hey, it did happen. So we're going good. Still almost halfway done with the book. We'll try to come back tomorrow, Lord willing, Lord spare life. Shit, I kind of want to keep going. But I got to go make some waffles. Gonna make some waffle batter and make some waffles for my boys. So we'll come back next time, man. Until then, man, I appreciate everybody for sticking with me. Yes, sir. I'm done, son. I'm done. Yes, sir. We're gonna make the waffles. Is Daddy done? We're gonna make the waffles. Appreciate the. Yes, sir. I'm done. I appreciate the comments and help spiritual conversationalists. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, sir. Thank you for all the to all the new subscribers. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And we'll get back up next time with Reading with Shiloh, man. Shalom to everybody. I hope y'all have a nice night. Hope you had a wonderful day. I hope all your people is well and healthy. Huh? You ready? All right. Shalom. All right. We're gonna go face the waffles. DJ out. Shiloh out. And Maman out.